What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I have an interesting space toy set that I want to review for you today. And this is a Space Explorer 8-piece toy set. And the quality on this is not great. However, it does include items with the NASA logo on it and several significant historical vehicles as well, including the Space Shuttle and also the Apollo moon lander, which comes in two parts. There's also a NASA labeled truck and the solid rocket booster and fuel tank that attaches to the Space Shuttle. There's also a launch pad for the Space Shuttle. And I believe this other rocket here, I believe is the Saturn V, or at least closely approximating the look of the Saturn V rocket. That's the one that launched to the moon. So, and probably the lamest item in here is the Astronaut, which really does not resemble NASA astronauts in any kind of way. So that one is kind of trash as a figure. But the other items, because they have some historical significance, I thought it worth picking up the set. Also includes this truck, which at least the front part of it appears to be die-cast metal. So that's kind of cool. On the back of the package, you can see this depicts how some of these items are assembled. And you can see the original price on this is $7.99, which is very expensive. But I can tell you, it did not cost that much because my local Big Lots is actually closing down and everything's being liquidated. So the asking price on this was significantly lower than what this is here, because it's definitely not worth $7.99 in terms of what you're actually getting with the set. But enough about the toy in the package. Let's go ahead and get this open and take a look at the details up close. Okay, so we got everything out of the package now, and we'll start with the weakest item, which is this astronaut figure. And as you can tell, it just doesn't really resemble NASA astronauts very clearly. It does include the sort of backpack, which would be necessary for survival in space. But the space helmet, it really doesn't look like any version that I'm familiar of NASA astronauts. And it's just a lazy rendering of a spacesuit. It does have some articulation, though. You got a head spin. You also have shoulder articulation. And there is one accessory as well, which is removable. This sort of pair of pliers sort of fits into his hand. So that is actually a removable item. So overall, I think it's, again, the weakest element of the set. But it is an astronaut. And I guess the main thing that sort of bugs me is they didn't really bother to make any of these items in scale with each other. So I'd say the closest items that are in scale would be the moon lander and maybe this truck. That might be the closest thing, but all the other items really don't seem to be in scale. So enough about the astronaut. Next up, we'll take a look at the Space Shuttle. This does include a die-cast metal element, so the entire top of the ship is actually done in die-cast metal, and then the base of it is done in plastic. As you can see, it hooks on to the large fuel tank, and you can see the solid rocket boosters on either side. So, and it comes on this landing platform, and that's obviously a removable element, and this all comes apart as it was packaged. So these just plug into the bottom of it. It does include wheels, so you can wheel this around, and it also is held together with screws, so you could take this apart and do some customization on it. I think the main thing I would want to do is do some repainting on it, mainly because on the front of the Space Shuttle, the elements that are done in black are much larger than what you see here. So yeah, I would want to modify that and make it look more accurate. But it's not too far off from the look of the actual Space Shuttle. There's just some inaccuracies that sort of make it look not quite accurate to the actual Space Shuttle. But it does roll, so you got some wheels on the bottom of it, so that's kind of cool. Next up, we'll take a look at this truck. Again, this has a die-cast metal element. The cab is done in die-cast metal. And I'd say the weak element of this is the wheels. But fortunately, this is held together with screws. So I could actually take this apart and do a wheel swap on it and actually upgrade these wheels to something looking a little more sophisticated. So the details on it are actually pretty decent. You know, you got some details on the front of the grille, headlights, so forth. And of course, it's got that NASA logo on the side of the truck. So overall, not bad. Not to the level of Matchbox or Hot Wheels, but definitely something that could be customized and made to look considerably better, particularly with a wheel swap. So that's kind of cool. So that's the truck. Next up, we got these, what appears to be the Saturn V rocket. This does include the die-cast metal element too, the base of it. This part here is actually die-cast metal, so that kind of surprised me. I wasn't really expecting that. And then the rest of it's done in plastic. Again, I believe there are some inaccuracies with this by comparison to the actual Saturn V rocket, but overall it looks pretty cool. It could just be an element of repainting aspects of it to make it look more accurate, but overall it looks interesting. So again, not to scale with any of the other elements in it, because the Saturn V rocket is actually huge. So this is definitely undersized by comparison to the other vehicles, but still a cool looking element, so I like having it. And last but not least, we have what I consider to be the highlight of the set, which is the Apollo moon lander, which comes in two parts. Those just plug together, which is very nice because, as you know, if you watch the footage of the launch back into space from the moon lander, this part actually launches out of this, and then this element actually remains on the moon. So the fact that they had this so it could separate apart is actually a very cool element. So overall detail on this looks pretty good. I don't know how accurate it is. I've seen pictures of the LEM, and yeah, there definitely seem to be some differences between this. They don't include the ladder on the side, for instance. That's not an element that's included, but they got a lot of the sort of gadgets and so forth on the top of the vehicle. So overall looks pretty cool. So very excited to have this, and I believe either Hot Wheels or Matchbox has done a version of this in their line, and I believe that version had die-cast metal. So I may try and pick that up at some point. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this. Even though it's all plastic, you know, it is held together with screws, so there's possibility it could be taken apart and some customization done to it. So overall, looks pretty cool. And again, this is the highlight for me of the set. I have a lot of admiration for the Apollo moon program and just NASA's efforts in general to put people on the moon and safely return them to the Earth. So very cool stuff. So overall, I think the set is pretty cool. Again, it was overpriced, but because my Big Lots is closing down, it didn't cost as much as the original asking price. So that was kind of nice. And because it includes some die-cast metal elements and also certain historical craft that represent milestones in American spaceflight, I think it's kind of cool in that regard. It does have the NASA logo on at least two of these items as well. So that's pretty awesome. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos about space toys, think about subscribing to my channel because I do have other videos about space toys on my channel. For instance, I recently picked up the 12-inch G.I. Joe space capsule, added that to my collection. I did a video about that. So go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out that video. So until next time, I hope you're having a great day, and thanks for watching.